Hello, everyone. Bonjour et bienvenue. Thank you for attending our virtual meeting of the CPATA Board of Directors. I now call the meeting to order. And thanks so much, Amber and Abigail, our two directors who are joining us virtually. It's great to see you on screen. If you all wish to listen to today's meeting in French, you can access the simultaneous interpretation by clicking the globe icon in the bottom of your window and selecting your language. As a federal regulator responsible for the regulation of patent agents and trademark agents in both English and French, our staff and licensees live and work throughout our vast and free nation. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the land we call Canada as the traditional and ancestral territory of many Indigenous peoples, people who have lived on and cared for these lands for generations. Today, we are gathered in Ottawa on the unceded, unsurrendered territory of the Anishinaabe Algonquin Nation. We are grateful for the traditional knowledge keepers and elders who are still with us, and for those who have gone before us. We respect the histories, languages, and cultures of First Nations, Métis, Inuit, and all First Peoples of Canada, whose presence continues to enrich our communities. Our AGM will be held later today, Thursday, June 4th, between 2 and 4 p.m., with a reception to follow in person at the Lord Elgin Hotel and online. This special event is an opportunity to reflect on our first 5 years and our role in strengthening the professional regulation of patent agents and trademark agents in Canada. Since its inception, CPATA has supported Canadian innovation through initiatives focused on professional competency, entry to practice requirements, professional conduct, combating fraud, and more. At the AGM, we'll present the 2025 audited financial statements and annual report, and we'll provide updates on our strategic framework and upcoming initiatives. We welcome anyone who can to join us, in person or virtually. CPATA remains actively engaged in IP and regulation thought leadership. Some staff and board members attended CPO's IP Prime Education Summit yesterday. Designed for startups and SMEs, the event brought together IP experts, government programs, investors, and innovators to explore how intellectual property can help businesses protect, commercialize, and scale their ideas, and we were glad to participate. In March, our CEO and registrar and our director of communications joined colleagues from CPO and the Competition Bureau for a Fraud Prevention Month webinar addressing the rise of sophisticated IP scams targeting Canadian businesses and innovators. The webinar highlighted common trademark scams, impersonation tactics, and key warning signs, while offering practical tips to help clients stay protected. CEO and Registrar Judah Straczynski also participated in an EPIC webinar on June 2nd on the rapidly emerging intersection of agentic AI, ethics, and IP law, providing legal professionals with practical guidance for responsibly integrating IA agents and autonomous AI systems into their practice. We're actively involved in contributing to the regulatory community, both providing best practices and learning from our colleagues. CPATA's Director of Registration and Education, Deputy Registrar Jennifer Slobodkin, was an instructor for the Canadian Network of Agencies for Regulation online course Fundamentals of Professional Regulation in Canada for the unit Quality Practice, Assuring Entry and Continuing Competence. Our General Counsel, Professional Regulation, Victoria Rees, has been asked to speak at upcoming events for the Canadian Network of Agencies for Regulation and for the Council on Licensure, Enforcement and Regulation, affectionately known as CLEAR. CLEAR is the premier international resource for professional regulation stakeholders. The CPATA board is so proud of our brilliant management team and the mark that they're making in the regulatory and innovation ecosystems. Thank you so much to all of you for doing that. CPATA relies on the support of licensees and other IP and regulation experts to carry out its extensive mandate. There are many opportunities to work with us. We are currently seeking expressions of interest to fill 3 positions on the Discipline Committee, 1 licensee and 2 non-licensees. Members serving on this committee support CPATA's public protection mandate by hearing applications referred by the Investigations Committee and ruling on complaints of professional misconduct or incompetence. The deadline to apply is June 15th. CPATA is seeking 2 Class 1 or 2 patent agents and 2 Class 1 or 2 trademark agents fluent in both French and English to review the translations of a template training plan, progress check, and final evaluation for accuracy and equivalency between late and early September. The deadline to apply is June 30th. Please consider getting involved. It is so rewarding and a great way to stay abreast of what's happening in the professions. I'm so pleased to take this opportunity to celebrate the agents in training who are writing the knowledge exams. The spring trademark knowledge exam took place on May 26th, and the spring patent knowledge exam will be on June 9th. Good luck to all candidates. That concludes my report, and now let's turn to today's meeting. Board meeting materials are published on the website in both English and French, where they're accessible to the public prior to the meeting. Recordings of each meeting are also available on the website. I'll begin by asking directors to declare if they have any conflicts regarding matters on the agenda. Are there any conflicts to declare?
No.
Looking around the table, okay. C, would someone please move to adopt the agenda? The motion is, be it resolved that the agenda for the June 4, 2026 meeting of CPATA's Board of Directors is approved as circulated. Could I have a mover? Yep. It is, it's moved, and seconder Scott, thank you. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, that motion is carried. We'll now go to the approval of the agenda section in our meeting package. All right, so with that, in that section, we have a motion, be it resolved that the meeting agenda is approved as circulated. Could I have someone make that motion, please? Scott, thank you. Steve, you've seconded, that's great. I didn't receive any requests to add or delete anything from the agenda in advance. Are there any now? No. The online? Okay. It looks like that we're clear then to have a vote on that motion. All in favor? Any opposed? No. All right, that motion too is carried. Thank you. Next, we have a motion to approve our minutes. The motion is, be it resolved that the minutes of the March 24, 2026 board meeting are approved. Could I have someone make that motion, please? Scott, thank you. And Steve, thanks for seconding. Okay, that motion is on the table. Any discussion on the minutes? No? Okay, then I'll call for a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, that motion too is carried, so thank you. Next on our agenda are committee and other reports. We have various presenters here. CPATA's committees play a vital role in our regulatory initiatives. Each committee has a unique function as described in the reports. To consider committee recommendations presented to the board from time to time for approval and to otherwise meet our fiduciary oversight duties, the board receives regular reports from each committee. So we've got 2 guests with us, so I just want to kind of call that out right now before we get into this section. So we've got Mark Piero, chair of our registration committee. Mark, thank you for being with us. That's awesome. We've got Bob Clemendon, chair of our audit and risk committee. So Bob, thank you so much for being with us. We'll look forward to your reports when they're up. First on our list is the investigations committee report. So I'll hand it over to Victoria Reese, our general counsel, professional regulation. Over to you, Victoria.
Thank you, Ruth. Good morning, everybody. I'm here reporting on behalf of the chair, Chris Dangerfield, who was unable to be here. We can wish her well in Portugal. So the investigations committee receives complaints from the registrar that can be either dismissed or investigated or referred to the discipline committee. And the role of the committee is to evaluate in every case with a complaint whether the results of an investigation provide reasonable grounds for the committee to believe that a licensee has committed professional misconduct or been incompetent. And then they consider that and determine, if the case is that the evidence points to professional misconduct, then under the act, they're required to refer it to hearing. Otherwise, they can dismiss a matter with or without advice to the licensee. Fortunately, the complaints experience has been fairly steady and on the low side, which is very positive. And I'll speak more about the reasons for that at the annual meeting. The committee met twice in the past period, in March and in May. They typically meet every other month. And in these last two meetings, they received updates relating to complaints against 2 trademark agents and 1 firm. It's a national firm. That matter will come forward for decision in July. They considered an investigation report relating to a complaint against a different trademark agent and resolved to dismiss that complaint. They considered a prosecutorial viability opinion regarding a complaint against a suspended trademark agent and have resolved to refer that matter to hearing. And they also participated in some very interesting training about the application and benefit risks and uses of AI in the professional responsibility, investigation, and discipline process. The next meeting is in July. Happy to take any questions.
Any questions or thoughts for Victoria? Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, thanks very much. Victoria, just a reminder that all of this information is in our packages, and we take it as read that all of the directors have looked in detail at these reports. So thanks so much. Discipline committee, and it is back to you again.
Thank you. This will be a short report. I'm reporting on behalf of Marcel Mongeon, the chair of the discipline committee, who was unable to be here. The committee has been happily quiet. There is one new matter that has been referred to them, which will probably be dealt with in the fall. Otherwise, they've had no business in terms of adjudications, but they do continue to meet as a whole and to undergo policy development and training.
Perfect. Sounds like good governance in play there, Victoria. Thank you so much. Any questions for Victoria before we move on? All right, seeing none, Mark, over to you to talk about your report on the registration. Sorry, Scott, did you have your hand up?
No.
For a question? Gotcha. Mark, over to you.
Thank you. Hello again. The committee sets the standards for the exams. They also engage in policy review and recommendations. And from time to time, not often, we also review decisions made by the registrar. I want to thank my colleagues, Alessandro Colombier, patent agent, trademark agent, ID Jensen, trademark agent, Hillary Rose, public member, Natalie DePaulson, CPO representative, trademarks, Craig McMillan, CPO representative, patents, and very much to my now former colleague, inaugural chair, Tina McKay, for her strong and effective leadership till very recently. And also thank you to Jen Slobodkin for her excellent support. The exams, they're a key method of ensuring public protection and fairness to candidates. They undergo an extensive development process, including psychometric validation. They allow only competent candidates to proceed, while also allowing all competent candidates to proceed. The winter 2026 knowledge exams were administered in February, and you have read the pass rates there. Those candidates who were demonstrated competence will move on to write the skills exams around perhaps later this year and next year. There's also another amendment of the knowledge exams in the spring, this May and June, and the committee will meet again in July to review the results as well as set test specifications. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Mark. Any questions for Mark?
Just curious, Mark, what the number of people taking the test over the last, let's say, 3 or 4 years, is it pretty steady, increasing, just you saying?
I would have to turn to Jen to address that.
I would say that the inaugural administration to 2024 had the highest numbers because that's when everyone started the process. And then it's been steady over the past like 2025 and 2026 in terms of registration numbers, anywhere between 20 candidates on an administration up to about 35, 6 candidates. So it's kind of averaging itself out over the last couple of administrations. Not a significant number, but we kind of have gotten to the point where the people that were eligible have kind of gone through that, and they're now candidates.
It's great, Jen, thank you.
Yeah.
Good question. Any other questions or thoughts for Mark? Or Jen? No, we're good. Okay, well, thanks, everyone. That's great. And Mark, thank you so much for your work on this committee. It's so important. We really appreciate it. All right, next up, we have Mr. Tom Conway, Chair of our Governance Committee.
Thank you.
Over to you, sir.
The Governance Committee met once since the last board meeting on April the 24th. You'll find the report in the materials at page 13. It's a pretty short report because there's really not a whole lot to report. But the committee received 2 reports at its meeting, both dealing with committee appointments. One was the report from staff with respect to the appointments and reappointments of current committee members. And we had a discussion about who those people were and how it all fit in the jigsaw puzzle of our terms and those who are interested and those who have the right skills, et cetera. So that there is a recommendation from the committee that's come out of that process, and there's going to be a motion at the end of the report for your consideration and vote. So that was the first report that we received from staff. The second report was from Jennifer, who reported on the recruitment process for a new licensee member to the registration committee. And you've heard earlier how important that committee is. And the committee was very pleased with the response to the request for interest in the committee. We had a number of very good candidates that came forward and put their hands up to volunteer for the committee. So that was great. Shows a lot of interest in the work of the college. And there was a discussion about the recommendation, and there is a recommendation coming forward to the on a candidate for appointment to that committee later. So that's my report. Thank you.
That's great, Tom. Thanks so much. Any questions for Tom on the report? And as Tom mentioned, later in our agenda, we will have votes on all of those appointments that he talked about. So any questions online? We're good. Okay, looks like we're ready to move on to our next report, which is the Audit and Risk Committee report. So Bob is here, committee chair. Over to you, sir.
Great, thank you, Chair. Let me give you the bottom line up front. The finances for CPATA are strong, and we are on track with budget. So there is nothing exceptional to report, but let me provide some additional context to the activities of the committee, which meets regularly, frequently, I'd say at least as frequently as any audit and finance committee would meet. So we're in regular touch with the with finances. I serve as the chair, and I am independent, so external to the board. There's another independent member of the committee who's not on the board, who is Maureen Rogers, an active member of the committee, and we're also, of course, supported with board members who are on our committee. It is Nota Cote and Scott Jotliffe, and we also welcome observers to our meeting who are not only observers but contribute to the conversation and ask questions. So any board member is welcome to attend our regular committee meeting. Our Our most recent meeting was on April the 15th. And as part of our regular agenda, it's the ongoing review of operations and the financial results. We compare with where we were in prior year. We look at where we are relative to budget. We look at variances both on a bottom line basis and on a line by line basis to say, what can we learn from where we're spending more or less to get a strong insight into the finances of CPATA. We also at every meeting have a forecast where we look to, so now we're up to April. What do we think we're going to be facing towards the year end, so that if there are mitigation measures required or adjustments required to keep us on track with budget, we're very mindful of the forecast. Our most recent activity has included making recommendations to the board on the fee schedule, which has been a very extensive amount of work that has been led by our CFO, Sean Walker, and our CEO, Judith Straczynski. So they come ready with material to answer very challenging questions, and we go backwards and forwards on this material to test and validate, and there's a robust challenge function. And before we make a recommendation to this board, we achieve a high level of confidence that the numbers are well grounded. Recently, we've also done a review of our insurance program. So there's many aspects to our insurance, whether it's on directors and officers liability, public liability, errors and omissions, fraud, all of the entire program. So we have been digging into that recently, and because we now have operating and professional reserves. Those reserves are financial in nature, it's money. So we're looking at what are the best low risk options to realize some investment return on those reserves. So, we're not jumping into the stock market, but we are getting professional advice on how we can earn a return to the benefit of members and to strengthen the finances of CPATA. Looking at the finances to the end of April and doing a careful review of line by line spending, we are forecasting a surplus for the current year in the range of 300,000, which is lower than it's been in prior years, but still provides, we're going to try to hold on to that surplus for the year by not going beyond on the spending side. So we'll try to protect it again to further strengthen the finances of CPATA and to get our reserves to the targeted levels. And those financial statements are in your material at page 17 to 24. At each meeting, we also have a legislative compliance memo that covers a range of potential risks to CPATA, whether it's on taxation or on other matters, are we up to date? You as board members should be particularly concerned, because if we weren't up to date on statutory deductions or remittances to the Canada Revenue Agencies, you personally would be on the hook as board members if you did not exercise your appropriate due diligence. So, and the due diligence for us is having in writing signatures from our CEO and our CFO that everything is current and up to date. So that is part of our due diligence. In all other respects, the legislative compliance memo, there are no exceptions to report. Finally, I would just to remind board members that at each meeting, we do meet in camera with the CFO. This is to enhance the independence of the CFO's function, whether there's something to talk about or not, but this is a matter of course. So Madam Chair, that's my report. Happy to answer any questions.
It's fantastic. Thank you. Really, really appreciate not only the report, but the governance context that you provided as well, Bob. That's awesome. Thank you.
I don't see any questions, but I did want to highlight the exceptional work of my fellow committee members. This is a high functioning committee, and it's a challenging one, but in that challenge, it's also enjoyable to work with our committee members. And we are exceptionally well supported, our CFO and CEO.
Yeah.
You've heard me say this before, but I sit on the boards of organizations much larger than CPATA and don't feel as well supported as we are here. So I'd like to acknowledge their fine work.
It's just so great to hear. We're very grateful for that as a board. So thank you to all of you for your service on this committee. And Sean, you are a rock star.
Thank you.
You are. And Judah, thank you. That's just great. Thanks so much. So within our Bob, we've just got a little subcategory here around the financial statements and compliance memo. Everything was in the package. You've now spoke to it. I think your report is concluded.
Yes.
Would you say? Perfect. Okay. So now we've got our annual work plan update, which will be presented by Judah, our CEO.
Thanks, Ruth. I'm not planning on going into detail, but as you know, we have a strategic framework, which is online and transparent, so everyone can know where we're sailing towards. And related to that, we have a multi-year activity plan. And some of the planning materials are for multi-year projects, and some are things that occur on more of a regular basis as a regulator. So this document basically has been updated with any new developments added in green for those who are curious as to where we're at on the strategic plan and on our activities. There's nothing that we are behind on per se. There's nothing that is sort of a yellow or red light, but we have been busy with engagement. Ruth spoke to it at the outset, so I won't work through all of that. We also administered exams earlier this year for the spring knowledge exams for trademark and patent is upcoming. And the winter knowledge exams, of course, which were reported on at our last meeting. We've, of course, got a wonderful new addition to the team with Emily joining in Q1. And we'll be talking about fees and some of the fiscal responsibility work. The rest of this report is effectively mostly around our registration processes, having had a smooth renewal season for licensees, and currently we're wrapping up our foreign practitioner registrations. So everything is going smoothly in that regard. The one difference from, I wouldn't call it a difference. The one highlight I would add simply for those who are interested in CPATA's work is that we engage with all of our stakeholders, including the Government of Canada. And the Government of Canada has been exploring intellectual property areas for potential refinement so that our system can be as streamlined and efficient and as helpful to Canadians as possible. And to that end, they launched a consultation this spring, and CPATA responded, addressing issues related to agent-client privilege and unauthorized practice. And we continue to work with the Government of Canada and remain hopeful that any changes would serve the public interest. So, Madam Chair, that's the update in terms of the activity plan. All is moving very well, and we're looking forward to a higher level review of what 5 years of regulation has brought at our annual general meeting this afternoon.
It's great, Judah. Thanks so much. Any questions for Judah on his report or anything else? Directors would look for.
I left this indicate our appreciation, of course, appreciation, but also from a knowledge perspective, for the intensity of the work that was performed by the staff over the last months since our last meeting, and the quality of the contributions that have come forward, which facilitate not only our work but our dialogues with our stakeholders as well as in terms of the board functioning. So I want to indicate our deep appreciation for that.
Thank you, Louise. Very well said. Thanks. Okay, so on to our next agenda item, which is the committee appointments that Tom talked about earlier. So, Tom, there is a motion in our agenda.
Right.
I'm not sure, just if you want to read it into the record, or if we can just say,
It's up to you,
you know, the
Madam Chair.
motion as.
Oh, yeah, the
Documented,
motion is,
yeah.
the motion is, relatively long, but it's just really, it's really just appointing, you know, a number of people. It's kind of like a chapter from the Old Testament, you know? So, some, some, you know, the asterisk sort of in the memo explains some of the moves and so on, but, so for example, Rajanan is proposed to be just an interim appointment. He's indicated that he's not, he doesn't want to serve for another 2-year term, but I gather has indicated that he is willing to bridge the gap while we find somebody to take to fill that position. So apart from that, from those kind of tweaks, the memo's self-explanatory. All these folks are known to us, and so this is a unanimous recommendation of the governance committee, that these individuals be appointed or reappointed. So we need a mover and a seconder. I guess I will move it. Should I move
I
it?
think we should. Yes,
It's probably seconded.
okay. So we now have a motion on the table. And it is, be it resolved that the following individuals are reappointed to their respective committees for a 2-year term. And I'll just read it out for anyone who's online. Bob Plamondon, Chair, Maureen Rogers and Aris Emel-Descote to the Audit and Risk Committee, Tom Conway, Karima Bawa, Peter Cowan, Amber Batul to the Governance Committee, Kristen Dangerfield, Chair, Jean-Sébastien Brière, Pierre Quentin, Barb Murchie, Kirill Liang, Grigoriev, Len Polsky, Carol Paulina, Teresa Jenin to the Investigations Committee, Marcel Mongeon, Chair, Charles Boulakia, Benangel. I'm probably not doing a good job of these pronunciations, so please forgive me.
That's why I just left it in the.
You know what? You were the wiser man. Jean Widow, Susan Bolter, Sam Langton, and Rajanand, as Tom mentioned, to the Discipline Committee. So that is the motion before you. You've all read the memo. It's been moved, it's been seconded. Any discussion on that motion? Okay, seeing none, I am going to call for a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, that motion is carried. Thanks so much, Tom.
Yeah, could I just, Madam Chair, could I just
Of
add,
course.
that the folks that have been reappointed have served the college immensely well. You know, I cannot say how lucky we have been with the mix of talent and experience. You know, it's really quite impressive, and it has clearly had an impact on the performance of the college in its early years. So I just want to thank them for all the hours they put in. They are not getting remunerated anywhere close to what their value is out in the real economy, but you know, they are helping to build the college and its reputation. So thank you to all of them.
Such a good point, Tom. Yes, thank you so much to all of them. All right.
Sorry, excuse me, I'm sorry, Madam Chair. I just noticed, based on what I'm seeing in our documentation, that the registration committee
Right.
appointments weren't listed. Is that all separate in a separate motion or just the new appointment?
The new appointment, so what I have on my agenda, Jen, is a motion for the appointment to the registration committee to be presented at the meeting. So our governance chair will.
But also the reappointments of all the current committee
Yeah,
members?
that's an error on my part. There is that the appointees who are being reappointed should have been included in the motion.
Okay.
So Jen, if you text me the
Yeah.
names of those being reappointed, I will read out a motion now that will include the new appointee and the registration committee reappointments, and we can have that motion.
Page
My
14
apologies.
of the memo
Gotcha.
from the governance committee includes the names. So
Right.
So that should get transposed.
Do you want to read it
Yeah.
into the record?
So I can do that because
Go ahead.
there's an in-camera appointment as well. So as Tom mentioned, the governance committee recruited for the registration committee vacancy. And as Tom mentioned, we had great interest and there were interviews conducted. for certain candidates. And ultimately, the recommendation going forward is that Jonathan Auerbach, who is a patent agent, trademark agent, and partner at Stikeman Elliott, be appointed to the registration committee. He has a broad range of experience in all aspects of intellectual property, with a particular emphasis on patent, trademark, and copyright litigation, prosecution, licensing, counseling, and transactions. The registration committee looks forward to having him join. So the motion would include Mr. Auerbach's appointment as well as the reappointments, and I apologize for not having those before you, but these are the reappointments, as my colleagues have pointed out, are on page 14 of the memo. And so the motion is, be it resolved that Mark Piorio, Natalie DePaulson, Hillary Rose, Heidi Jensen, Alessandra Colonier, Craig McMillan, and Jonathan Auerbach be appointed to the registration committee for 2 years.
Yeah.
So that is the motion in front of us. Who would like to make that motion? Tom, and seconded by Steve. That's fantastic. The motion is now on the table. Any discussion? Jen, thanks so much for bringing that up. That was good catch. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, no, I'm seeing no discussion, so I'll call for a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. So thank you, everyone. That's great. And again, to echo Tom's words, thank you immensely to all of those people for their tremendous contributions to the work of the college. All right, next up, we have whole section here, Judah, on license fees. So Judah and Sean, our CEO and CFO, I'm going to pass it over to you, and then once you've had any preliminary, additions over and above what you've already provided in the package, when you've had a chance to talk about that, I'll read the motion and we'll have it moved and seconded and then open it for discussion. So over to you to add anything you'd like.
Oh, thank you, Madam Chair. So there is a memo that guides this discussion, which is at page 34 of the materials. And ultimately, this represents the culmination at the policy level of what has been nearly 2 years of work on financial planning and review of licensing fees to make sure that CPATA is able to operate, meet its mandate, be sustainable without the need for higher than necessary fees to licensees. And licensees account for about 90% of our revenues. And so it's important that we get this right, both for licensees and affordability, but also for the college's sustainability. We have engaged in extensive longer-term modeling and projections of our expected costs and to operate at the levels that the public expects us to operate at. And given that we have a broad mandate operating across Canada for 2 professions, it's a tall order and we need to be properly funded to achieve it. At the same time, some of the risks from startup, where we were literally cycle to cycle, trying to make sure we had sufficient funds to continue operating from January to March as we renewed again. Those risks are gone now that we have properly instituted reserves to account for operational need and for risks that will arise at some point around complaints, discipline, unauthorized practice, and professional regulation generally. And so the memo takes us through some of the process that we have engaged on in our review of fees. And this is possibly a regulatory first, but we had a call for comment of the public about our fees. And most regulators don't go to this level of engagement in Canada because regulatory costs are what they are often, and there's very little opportunity to move that needle given the mandate that we have. At the same time, we did want to hear from the public if there were particular pieces that might help us better refine our budgeting or understand impact of fees better. We held a call for comment with detailed financial information and maintained our transparency and our tradition of making our budgets publicly available online, and provided some of our forecast information to help those reading this paper provide informed commentary as much as possible. And we received excellent submissions from the Intellectual Property Institute of Canada and approximately 30 individuals as well, all licensees with a range of views on what the ultimate fee should be. But the consensus, understandably, was that a reduction would be warranted. And so I'm pleased that today we're able to reduce the fees. Now, in developing the fee review, we heard from licensees about particular areas of, call them pain points, where there were different recommendations to consider alternative approaches for fees for certain licensees in certain settings. And I want to emphasize that these were considered very carefully at all levels, at the staff level, operationally, what would it take to implement these changes, modeling some of them to see if we were reduced in this area, would we have to increase elsewhere. It was reviewed by the Audit and Risk Committee, and this board now has this memo with some of the analysis as well. At the core of it, there are certain regulatory policy approaches that the board is maintaining at this time, which is that we are maintaining the active C1, C2, trainee license of C3, and an inactive license of C4. We're not changing licensing categories, which would require bylaw change. But we've also considered whether to change fees based on variety of types of practice, environments, or conditions, including the practice setting or firm size. For in-house agents, whether there should be different fees, whether there should be some discount if you're providing for unmet IP needs, full-time versus part-time, or discounts for those who are regulated by other professions. And as the memo describes, in each of these areas, while it's tempting to try to meet the needs of everyone, these would require trade-offs, and the trade-offs didn't balance effectively. And so we're keeping the status quo in terms of having license fees by category. And for those who are going to need to take a leave of absence, take parental leave, step out of practice, there's an inactive fee that is a significantly discounted fee compared to those who are in active practice. So we're trying to balance accessibility, affordability, equity, and ultimately, I think that this board was pleased to see that given where we're at financially, part of those equity concerns and some of those concerns about asking for discounts for certain communities of practice can be met in part by simply reducing the fee as it applies to all licensees. And so that is what is being presented today, is the recommendation that the fees on the go forward be reduced to $1,400 for Class 1 licensees, effective January 1st, 2027. And you'll see at page 39 of the materials, what we've done is we've prepared for those who are interested in the specifics of each and every fee that we charge, what we are bringing to the Department of Justice with the intention of having this published in the Gazette in time for enforce for January 1st. And I can also report to the board, I've been in touch with the Department of Justice. They are aware that this is coming to the board today. They are aware that their formal drafting instructions will be coming shortly thereafter. My plan is for Monday. They're all teed up and ready, assuming this is passing today. And so you would see significant 25% discounts from the current fees. The Class 1 licensing fee reduced from the current $1,877 down to $1,400. The Class 1 licensee for those who are patent agents and trademark agents being reduced from 2815 to 2100. The reduction of class 2 licensee for both the patent agents and trademark agents down from 2346 to 1743. The other fees that have been indexed to inflation tend to continue to be indexed as such, because we do not have our bylaw set inflation data, which would only be indexed based on the October CPI annual index, which is only published in November. We have presented to DOJ an assumption of a 2% CPI increase for this purpose for next year. We'll discuss with them whether that is acceptable. So there may be some slight movement if need be, to ensure fairness and that we follow guidelines from the Department of Justice. But our goal was to give as much transparency as to the expected range of fees that we foresee coming into force for January 1st. On the go forward, the intention is that these would remain indexed to inflation. The one change from our current bylaws is for ease of reporting, for added certainty, and to provide further advance notice to licensees. We're hoping that the Department of Justice will consider moving our index inflation from October to the September index. That gives our CFO and me a little bit of more time, gives our audit and risk committee a bit more time. And because this is a straight up calculation, regardless of what that does to our income side or budget, we will know what it will be in advance and can announce that as soon as possible when the index is published to licensees so that they can plan in the fall for the fees that we start to collect in early the following year. And so, Madam Chair, I think this is a real strong turning point for the college. We've done the heavy lifting, and we'll talk about it more at the annual general meeting, but the origin story of this college is a deeply frightening one for anyone who is familiar with professional regulation. No startup funding. Vendors taking a chance on a college that may or might not actually see the light of day. The board of directors meeting and putting the necessary expenses down on personal credit cards. The government of Canada, I think it's fair to say, somewhat reluctantly, because this is a highly unusual practice for the government of Canada, becoming a co-signer of a line of credit to an independent agency. We're past all of that. We have repaid that line of credit debt. We have made sure that we are financially stable. We have our rainy day funds that are a necessity for any regulator. We have set them in accordance with best practices. And we're now at a position where we can reduce the rates to more affordable rates for all, while maintaining the regulatory excellence that we continue to strive for.
Really well said, Judah. Thank you so much. So I'm going to start by reading the motion, and then I'm going to open the floor for discussion. So the motion is, be it resolved that the board approves fees in accordance with Schedule 1 attached at Appendix A to come into effect January 1, 2027, conditional on CPATA's bylaws, which are drafted in conjunction with the Department of Justice, being amended in time for such changes to come into effect. That is the motion. Who would like to move that?
I would like to.
Elise is moving it, and Dennis is, Dennis was seconding it, perfect. And the motion is now on the table, and I invite discussion from board members. And from our committee chairs, if anyone, from anyone. Team, anybody? Online? Any discussion? I guess, Judah, you said it all. So there has been a tremendous amount of heavy lifting to get where we are, not only historically, but over the last 2 years, as Judah said, as we've really thought about this, and thoughtful input from our stakeholders, IPIC and others who presented us with their thoughts, and they were considered very, very carefully. So good work, everyone. Good work. With that being said, and no further discussion, I'm going to call for a vote. All in favor of the motion? Any opposed? That motion is carried. All right, next up, we have the appointment of our auditors. So over to you, Sharon and Judah, to talk about that motion.
So I'm gonna let Sean take this one.
Okay.
Okay. So there's a memo in the package on page 40. It outlines the relationships we've had with previously Grant Thornton, now known Grant Thornton. We've been working with them since the 2021 and 2020 year end. Things have gone very well each year with the audit. We have never had an adjusting journal entry in 6 years or 5 years now. So we would like to continue work with them versus going out and doing an RFP or going back to market. I did reach out to get a quote. They haven't been able to provide one yet, but they said the fees would be very similar to this year. Maybe a small CPI adjustment, but nothing out of the ordinary. So we brought the motion forward to reappoint Dawn Grant Thornton.
That sounds great. I'm going to read the motion into the record, get it on the table, and then we'll open it for discussion. So the motion, be it resolved that the board reappoints Stone Grant Thornton LLP as external auditor for CPATA's 2026 year-end audit. That is the motion. Who would like to move that?
I like to do that.
Thank you, Elise.
Scott?
Seconder, Scott, perfect. All right, so that motion is now on the table. Open it up for discussion. Bob, as chair of the committee, is there anything you'd like to add?
I would say this, that when Scott says that the audits have gone well and there have been no adjusting journal entries, that doesn't reflect on doing Grant Thornton. That reflects on the books that we provide to them, that they've seen nothing that, warrants a journal entry because our books are so tight. And I found them to be, relatively easy to deal with. We nudged them somewhat on their fees, periodically, just to let them know we're paying attention. We had an issue a couple of years ago that required some one-time work on their part that was not really great value added for us, but it was part of their quality control. What our standing was. So we've worked through issues with them fine, and I support their reappointment.
That's fantastic.
Just a cool.
Yes.
Question,
Go ahead, Tom.
this is the 5th year that we've had them as our auditor.
Yeah, this will be our 5th.
I seem to remember that somewhere in my past at a director's meeting, the issue coming up that every once in a while we should change the auditors.
7 years. General practice is 7 years, go to tender, or change the key lead person if the agency continues.
That's how they
The lead person should be a different person.
The engagement.
So we're
Yeah.
okay with that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
fine.
Thank you.
Part of the audit committee's work, I think, is to do an annual evaluation of the
We do.
external auditor, and then often at sort of a whatever mark, 5 year, 7 year, to do a deeper dive. And with a formal assessment, so
That's part of
what
our
we do, yeah. that's
that's
what.
part of our work.
Yeah. So that also helps with what you're talking about. I think your point, Tom, being the whole independence of the external auditor, right? Yeah, so good point. All right, any other questions for Sean or our audit committee before I call for a vote? All right, great. So motion is on the table. All in favor? Are there any opposed? That motion is carried. Well, thank you so much, everyone. Next up, we've got an other business section. I didn't hear of any other business that anyone wanted to bring forward, either before the meeting or when we approved our agenda. So assuming there's none, but just do a quick go round. Anyone have any other business that they'd like to add? No? Okay. With that said, then I am going to adjourn our public meeting. So thank you again, everyone, for joining us. Thanks to all of those online, and goodbye for now. See you this afternoon at our AGM for anyone who is able to join us. So thanks, everyone. Meeting adjourned.
Okay.